This is the plaintiff, Raymond Savarino. He says he rented a room in the defendant's house, and 1 month later, out of the clear blue sky, she told him things weren't going to work out, and he had to leave right away. He has no idea why she kicked him out, had no place to go, and was forced to find a hotel room until he could sort things out. Besides that, he prepaid the rent. She won't give it back, and is suing the flaky defendant for $1,374.10, the amount he's owed. This is the defendant, Becky Mecca. She says the plaintiff stole liquor from the bar area in her house, was a peeping Tom to her neighbor's daughter through the window, and even went pool hopping in the neighbor's pool. Besides that, he had his girlfriend in the room every night he was there, and they had screaming matches all the time. She couldn't take it anymore, told him he needed to leave and doesn't owe the guy a dime. She is accused of changing her mind. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,000 for unpaid rent for his girlfriend and loss of work.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff rented a room from the defendant's house, and he says she unceremoniously threw him out. But the defendant says the plaintiff stole liquor and was in nightly fights with his girlfriend. It's the case of fighting their way into court.
Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Raymond Savarino?
Yes.
You are suing Becky Mecca for $1,374.10 for rent from August and loss of work and hotel charges, all because she, according to you, wrongfully evicted you. You're counterclaiming against him $1,000, also for loss of work, and days that his girlfriend stayed over that you want to charge $25 a day for. Okay, how long were you two roommates? Not roommates, housemates.
About 7 weeks.
Okay, and that's your house?
Yes.
How many rooms do you rent out in your house?
I rent out 2.
So tell me what happened.
Well, Your Honor, I moved in on May 30th. I paid her for the month of June, also for July. I was ahead.
Why were you ahead?
Well, I do construction, and sometimes it gets slow with the cold weather, so I like to have a little cushion just in case if I miss a week or two.
Look at you now. Can't you put that cushion in a bank and be disciplined and not touch it rather than give it to someone?
Well, I had that also.
But you, according to you, you paid your rent in advance for how many months?
Just like 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I went to pay her for the end of August, at the end of July, and she said that it's not working out and she wanted me to leave. So instead of having any...
So you never paid her for August?
I paid her $400 for August.
Okay, so you paid her $400 for August. How much was your rent per month?
$650.
So go ahead.
So instead of any kind of confrontation or harassment, I said, okay, fine.
Did she tell you why it wasn't working out?
No, not really.
Do you have any idea why it wasn't working out?
No, not really, because like I said, every week I was giving her money.
Why wasn't it working out?
Because he was loud, abusive. He had his girlfriend over.
What do you mean by abusive?
He would yell and scream every night at the top of his lungs, on the phone, on my phone, calling his girlfriend. His girlfriend would then call me, waking me up in the middle of the night with my phone ringing. They would be screaming and fighting about God knows what, because that's what they always did. From the minute he moved in, it was like that. My neighbor called me the day he moved in and said, I hear yelling and screaming and somebody on the top of their lungs screaming, and I hear the girl crying, which means she also heard slapping.
Wait, which means no, that doesn't translate into she also heard slapping. Did she say she heard slapping?
Yes, she heard slapping. She heard slapping, and I have witnessed them hitting each other and fighting each other in my home. And that's why I really couldn't take it anymore. He would give me, I have receipts for what he gave me.
Did he pay you $400 for August?
No.
What did he pay you for August?
It was $200 towards August, and I told him.
May I see the receipt that you're looking at? How much was he paying? Was he paying by the week?
He would give me $200.
No, how much is his rent?
It was $750. First of all, he wanted to move in upstairs, and then he saw that downstairs was vacant, and he wanted to move downstairs. Downstairs is bigger; it's $750 downstairs, $650 upstairs.
Okay.
He gave me $650 to move in downstairs. The next day, he gave me $100. That was $750.
That covered the month of June. So I have 2 different receipts on July 29th. I have one for $200
Because he came
that
to
you
me.
wrote on top of. Just a second, ma'am. That you wrote on top of it used to say August when you issued the receipt, and now it says July on it. And then I have another June 29th, which used to also say August, and then it says July. How much do you say you paid for August? I'm sorry.
For August, $400.
Okay. Well, did you hear what she had to say about why you were kicked out?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, and?
Her and my girlfriend just didn't get along.
So, if this guy was getting in nightly fights, does the landlord have a right to evict him?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
She may have feared for her safety. It may have spilled out into the common areas.
But it is a kind of a theoretical thing, right? I mean, fear for safety, who knows?
Yeah, if you're causing a disruption that's going to make the other people in the building uncomfortable, you got to get rid of that.
Okay, I want to give you guys a hint. What is it about getting in a physical fight that's a deal breaker? When you get in a physical fight with somebody, what could that constitute?
Well, it could bring the police in, and that's very
When you bring the police in, that means somebody committed a what?
a crime.
Yeah, and you can't commit crimes when you got a lease going inside the courtroom.
How often was your girlfriend in there? A lot? Because that's part of your counterclaim.
Like every other weekend. And when I first moved in, I remember
You signed something that said that if your girlfriend stayed over, you'd pay $25 for each time she stayed. I'm sorry. Does your lease not say that? What I just said?
I don't even know, tell you the truth.
Well, I do.
Oh, I never got a copy of it.
Well, did you sign it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, then maybe you should make sure you get a copy of what you signed.
True.
And what it says is $25 a day, which is ridiculous. $25 a day for each house guest. Did you ever charge him the $25?
No, because they didn't give me a reason to. This is a countersuit because.
So you had ignored this provision throughout.
I did not ignore it. I said,
you didn't enforce it. I mean,
Right.
You didn't enforce it until he sued
things
you.
started happening.
Until he sued you. But what he's suing you for? Let's talk about what he's suing you for. He's suing you for August rent. I'll go over the receipts now. Can you give me your copy of the receipts too,
Sure.
so I can make sure we're all looking at the same thing? He's suing you for back rent for 1 week in July 24th through July 31st. Why?
Because I was paid up for July and also into August, and I left on the 24th of July, and she wouldn't even give me any of that money. When I asked her for
When
the
you told
money-
him he had to go, did you tell me he had to go right then? You're out.
No, I told him he could have a couple days, and he did take a couple days
Okay,
to
well,
go.
what kind of notice is that anyway?
Under the circumstances, Your Honor, I went through a lot of things with him and her. There was constant bickering and fighting and screaming and yelling. He stole things out of my bar, liquor totaling $218.
He stole what?
Liquor. He has a drinking problem. And his
How
girlfriend.
do you know he stole liquor from your cabinet?
Because I know what's in there. I also had Christmas gifts made downstairs that had a little cocoa in it and marshmallows, and then I had Bailey's rum, the little Baileys on him, and he stole all those and drank those.
Just the Baileys, not the Christmas things?
Not the cocoa.
Not the cocoa. Just left the cocoa, took
Just
the
the
Baileys.
alcohol. Okay, and so that forced me to have to buy a lock for the Florida room so I could keep him out of there. I have witnesses.
What day did he move out?
On the 24th.
So, according to you, he's paid up until what day?
He was paid up until the 30th.
Okay, so do you admit that you owe him the rent for that week?
Yes and no.
And what? Go ahead.
Because of I had to buy a lock for the Florida room. I minus some of the alcohol that he drank, and I also he threw it. His girlfriend and him were having a fight, and she told me that this happens all the time. I said, "Well, why don't you leave him?" Well, she said, "Well, the real reason is because there was a fight in their home where he used to live with her, and her oldest son was beating. They were having a fight, and DYFS was called in, and DYFS was told to stay out to keep him away from the youngest child. So that's why he moved in with me.
And go on.
I said, then why do you continue to bring your son over here, being around this man when you're not supposed to?
What'd she say?
They would be always on outside drinking with the boy in front of them.
How old's the boy?
I think he's 8 or 10.
What's going on? You want to respond to any of this?
I can't believe what I'm hearing, number one. I really
Were
have
you
nothing
ordered
to
to
say.
stay away from the boy?
No.
Or do you have any domestic violence charges against you?
No, I do not.
Did you steal her alcohol?
No, I did not.
Are these two receipts that you gave him? These are different.
No.
Why are these receipts different?
They're different from the hotel.
Oh, gotcha. So you are suing her for the hotel you had to stay in
Yes.
and also rent.
The 162 for the last week in July.
but then you would be staying for free for several weeks. You can't get both. You have to pick one or the other. You understand?
Okay, June, okay, I understand that.
Okay, she actually has more receipts than you do for you. So we're going to go by hers, which is better for you. And I presume accurate.
Didn't get to finish. But
Go ahead.
So on June 29th, he approached me after I given him a receipt for $200, and he said to me, "Oh, I lost my receipt. Can you please give me another one?" I said, "Fine." And I wrote duplicate receipt on it, as you can see, for the same date.
So your math was off, is what you're telling me on the receipts, so you want me to accurately calculate it, right? Because in other words, you were writing, this is a deposit for August rent when he still owed July. And so your receipt was wrong. That's why you then took pens later when you figured yourself out.
Yes, because he would come at me, would say, "Oh, this is for August," and and he's all
yeah. Well, all the more reason to be accurate and figure out your math.
I know.
All right,
I know.
Okay, now you have a counterclaim against him for $800, right? Mm-hmm. For a girlfriend fee,
right?
That you never enforced while he was there.
Yes.
But that you're saying now that she stayed how many days? 32 days?
Yeah, I have a calendar of every day she was there.
You were marking it simultaneously with her presence there?
Yes.
Do you see how someone with connected brain cells might not believe you?
In case there was a problem like this.
Okay. On your counterclaim against him, I find it impossible for you to prove the amount that you're proving just by writing little X's on a calendar and find zero.
That's fine. I understand.
On your claim against her, you're not entitled to your loss of work. You're not entitled to your weeks in a hotel. I do, however, find, based on her receipts, that you prepaid $400 and $162.50 that you weren't allowed to keep. And I am ordering the defendant to pay you back $562.50 verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Here's the defendant right here. What do you think of that?
I think I was done wrong, and I cannot believe it. I think I was done very wrong. I have all the receipts and everything. It's not fair what happened to me today.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you let him rent in the first place?
Because he gave me a story, shall we say, about being there, and
what kind of story?
He said that he got thrown out because he had a fight with his son, his girlfriend's son, and then.
So why were you compelled to say yes to him? You obviously saw something that you were compassionate about. Or?
Yes, because I am a good person deep down inside, and I try to help people, and this is what I get.
Would you do it again?
No.
No.
All right, head right down there with Officer McIntosh. All right, come on in here. You didn't get everything you sued for, but you did get some back. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm somewhat happy. I did get something out of it, which I deserve.
What about all these things she's claiming about you in the courtroom?
Well, she's in fantasy land. In a way, I'm glad to be out of there.
All right, Harvey.
Okay, if a tenant does violate the law in an apartment, the landlord does have grounds to evict that person. In this case, the rent was prepaid. That's why the plaintiff got the rent back. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.